start pollution, people can stop it.
Maga kids versus Native American elders seems pretty manipulative to me. Oh my god, finally, the Maga people behaved like leftists and formed a semi-angry mob and almost acted maybe kinda sorta racist because they were making fun of a Native American elder guy and it was captured on camera. Finally, we have video evidence of Trump supporters doing something unprovoked, unruly, and racist-ish, like we've been saying that they were doing without any evidence for about 3 years. I mean, unfortunately, they didn't beat anybody up on camera or pepper spray people like leftists tend to, but who cares, because a lifetime of racism is worse than any beating a white man can suffer, especially if the racism is directed at a Native American elder. Wait, but like, does anybody actually know who these people are and why they gathered? Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and perhaps you've seen the viral video of the Maga kids berating the poor innocent Native American elder who was peacefully beating a drum because, of course, Native American elders just spontaneously decide to beat drums because reasons? Perhaps it was a rain dance? Maybe a snow dance, because it looks pretty cold. Maybe it was a rain dance for rain that was supposed to come melt all the snow, or something. Okay, so I want to make it explicitly clear that when I look at groups of teenaged white guys that look and act exactly like that when they are in large groups, I hate them. All of them. I am absolutely a complete snob when it comes to these types of people, and when I see them collectively, I loathe each and every one of them. Even if it might turn out that individually, if you could separate them from their friends, they might be nice enough kids. And let's face it, when it comes to sheer annoyance and an uncontrollable urge to punch some kid that you know is completely inappropriate and you'd never actually act upon, we should all be able to admit that it was this one in particular that was the money shot. And let's not forget that there's seemingly one black kid with them. Can you imagine all of the completely racist vitriol he'd receive from the completely racist contemporary left? Would he be allowed to be called racist under the fake sociological definition of the word racism? Maybe due to the fact that he's a prep school student with a big group of white guys that's picking on an old Native American leftist? I mean, leftists like to say that the worst thing that you can be in the whole world is black, and so black people can't be racist, but clearly they wouldn't want to side with him, so maybe he is racist because they're not exactly consistent people. I don't know. Regardless, as I examine this footage for longer than a minute, I start asking some questions. Where the hell is this, and what is that historical government-looking building in the background anyway? Why were a bunch of high school kids gathered together in the first place? Why were so many of them wearing MAGA hats? And who the hell is the Native American guy and the people eagerly filming him anyway? And why are they there? Granted, I will let you know right now that I am not going to do any sort of internet sleuthing around answering these questions, aside from what is in the video description. And I can assure you that in this case, it sincerely isn't because I'm lazy. Rather, I want to determine what I can from the limited information I have from finding this clip on YouTube after I heard it mentioned on Twitter. And I'm doing so because many or most people commenting about the video have no more information than this. And yet they still have opinions, like the propagandists at Vox. So, okay, question one. Where is this? Well, it says Covington Catholic school kids in Kentucky, and since I'm going to stick to my initial mission statement of this video that I just said, I won't search for where Covington High School is in Kentucky, but judging by the building in the background, I am assuming that this is some sort of state capital, and judging by the fact that this is probably the state capital, we can assume that the kids were on some sort of field trip, which answers the question of why the kids were there. As to why exactly so many of them are wearing Maga hats, I actually really don't know. And then I have to start asking questions about the Native American guy and his white activist supporters. You see, here's the thing. I think a lot of people are just jumping to conclusions and assuming that the Native American guy was just innocently doing this randomly and was accosted by some group of students. But I think there has to be more to the story. I mean, you see towards the beginning some white guy with one of those awful mid-2000s hipster scarves on, filming all of this. And then you realize that there's more than one person filming the drumming, so this is probably some sort of protest that the Native Americans are involved in staging at the Capitol building for God knows what reason. I don't know, maybe it's something that people do there consistently and have been doing there consistently for a while now. So, I hate to sound like I'm stereotyping, but maybe it's something against some sort of fracking, because we all know that Native Americans are great for being sympathetic puppets to fight against the evils of fracking, which kills our poor environment. And like, maybe fracking will get us out of endless war in the Mid-East if we produce our own fuel, but forget about that. Fracking makes Native Americans sad, said the left. Personally, I'll obviously absolutely agree that the kids are acting inappropriately and that they come across as annoying, bullying, stupid, and as if they are likely acting as puppets themselves that are carrying out the political opinions of their parents and teachers at their Catholic high school, who likely told them some reason why the Native American protest was stupid. Again, I hated high school kids like these ones when I was in high school, and I continue to hate them now. However, when I think about the real racists that we actually see here, I have to start digging a bit deeper. I mean, mocking people in general is just mocking people. You can mock anybody and everybody that you want to if you think that they are acting foolish, and it doesn't make you racist. I mean, if you'd only ever mock somebody of a certain skin color, then yeah, you're racist. Or if you wouldn't mock somebody of a certain skin color, then yeah, you're racist. And granted, two things can be true at once, as you can both be fairly racist and also mock people for the sheer sake of mocking them without it being racist in motivation. So in that way, it's hard to know. However, I have a fairly strong suspicion that the kids weren't just spontaneously mocking the Native American guy while all sorts of cameras were filming for no other reason than the fact that he was a Native American. I believe there was more to it. I bet that if you were to ask the good-looking alpha kid who got up in the drummer's face and smiled a bunch, he'd have a few things to say. I'm honestly guessing that the kids believed that the drum protest was a load of baloney, and that the kids were some of those Generation Z kids that we hear about who are sick of not just the relentless virtue signaling from the left, but the downright manipulative racist antics coming from the protest activist establishment in our nation. And the reasons I believe this are: 1, the look of delight on this chick's face when she knows she's caught something that she can exploit for negative optics against Trump supporters. And secondly, I'm suspicious because of the fact that in the description of the video, all they say is that these kids don't know what their ancestors did to Native Americans, which is a lie because literally every high school kid in America knows all about that stuff because it's one of the only things they do actually teach properly. So they are clearly weaponizing people's sympathy already, as they clearly hope that the tragedies of centuries past have made it completely unacceptable to ever criticize Native Americans ever, which not only isn't true, but is downright racist in itself. Honestly, I would guess that the people protesting the state capitol are some sort of far-leftist wackos, maybe even violent far-leftist wackos like Antifa, who happen to be using a few Native Americans for their own devious purposes, pushing them up to the front of the protest so that they can use them as their shield to escape criticism. Or maybe it was just some kids being jerks. And maybe I'd feel kind of bad if I didn't at least mention that possibility, because I really don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but my suspicion is that the protesters know perfectly well just how much white guilt there is in our nation about what happened to the Native Americans who ended up dying of diseases in horrifically high number, or as a result of them fighting foolish wars they would definitely lose to settlers that outgunned them technologically. Yes, it's an absolute tragedy what happened over the course of a few hundred years of European settlers finding out that there was no great way to peacefully coexist with people who would die from diseases if you got near them, or who would try to kill you so that you wouldn't get near them. Or they'd ally with other European settlers to act as veritable pawns in their territory disputes, or any of the other things that got Native Americans killed in large numbers. It's all very sad, and everybody admits that stuff is really sad to think about, which is why the archetype of the sad Native American man has been in mainstream American pop culture for decades, as he cried when you littered back in the 1970s or 1980s or whenever.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it.
I guess he's still crying to this day while beating a drum and standing with a bunch of white activists who know perfectly well that they can use this footage to say, "See, we're the left and we don't want the Indians to cry. Only Trump supporters make Indians cry." But in the end, what else are they really saying?